Hi, and welcome to Friday, May the 1st. I'm Michael Bean. This is a confidence on camera lesson. Today, we're going to be joined by casting director Jackie Lind. So, the extremely quick overview, which I know none of you need, but in case anybody needs it, when they're watching the video, is that Actors Food Chain, sort of who are we meeting today? We've got producers in charge of the money, they're the directors in charge of the story, casting directors in charge of the audition. So specifically, they're choosing which actors to see for the audition, and then they're sending those audition tapes to the decision makers, the director and the producer, person in charge of the story, person in charge of the money, or persons who are making the decision about who to call back and the decisions about who get cast. So the casting director can't necessarily give you answers about like why does one person get cast, although they do, you often have those conversations up here. What they're in charge of is who gets to come in and audition. And so when we get to the point where you're asking questions today, make sure that you're asking questions knowing who you're talking to. That the questions that are relevant are the ones about who do you decide to bring in? How do you decide to bring in a new actor, somebody who maybe you don't know or you don't see very regularly? What do you like to see when that person comes in the room? That's the casting director. Talent agents are in charge of marketing the actors, and the actors are in charge of themselves and their work, which is why you all are here. We're going to quickly take a peek at we're going to quickly take a peek at her IMDb page. Just so that you know what we're getting into. So what we've got is Jackie Lind, IMDb. I've got a little bit of some interesting bio stuff here in IMDb. I don't know who added this, but there's some things that I didn't know here. That she has 2 children and 3 stepchildren, so she's got lots of kids. Jackie has 256 credits just as a casting director. Yeah, and probably a bunch of associate credits down here too. Whoa. Yeah, casting department, producer, thanks. So tons of stuff here. Now, what we can see is sorry, I'm going so fast. Is everybody looking at Jackie's bio with me? Sometimes I've opened up the wrong window. Ainsley, can you see it good? Okay, great. What we can see here is a bunch of movies already for 2020, and it's not very far into 2020. If we look back into 2019, there's 24 of these movies, which look to me like mostly like Hallmark movies. There's a whole bunch of Hallmark features here. Hallmark has a very specific flavor to it. That's a very specific tone or style. And then Van Helsing, which could not be more different. So just to give you an idea of kind of the range of stuff that Jackie has been casting, at least according to IMDb, in 2019, we've got the first 3 credits that are on here, Dead Over Diamonds, Picture Perfect Mysteries. And if you look right up here at the top of this picture, it says Hallmark Movies, something. Riddled with Deceit, a Martha's Vineyard mystery. Again, a Hallmark Movies mystery signature mystery. Love in Store. Look at these happy people. Hallmark right there on the bottom. So, and then Van Helsing, which is the TV series that you can see here, 13 episodes. Van Helsing could not be more different than Hallmark. I mean, just looking at the picture, you can see that we've got like Love in Store, happy, smiling, pink, handbags, happy couple. Then we've got Van Helsing, horrible demon face bleeding vampire lady. So there's some of the range of the stuff that Jackie's been casting in 2019. Vampires have taken over the world. So that'll hopefully give you enough context that'll make sense when we get Jackie Lind joining us, and she may be here now. Okay, mere moments. The Hallmark movies, I will be really interested in finding out Jackie's perspective on that, because like I said, she cast 24 of them last year, and there's a real opportunity that's come up in some of these lessons that, I hope is they realize, by production here, but there she is. I was just going to open up my email and go looking for her. So unmute Jackie and
Hi,
make it
can you
all
hear
work
me?
with her instead.
Can you hear me?
We can. Now they're all muted, so for the moment, so you can't hear any of them yet. But I figured that I'd get you to talk for a bit and ask you some questions, and then for the last 10 minutes, we'd open it up and take questions for all of them.
Perfect.
Now, you may be a Zoom expert already, but if you put it on what's called gallery view, in the top right corner, you'll see 9 little gray dots in a square. If you click that, you'll be able to see everybody's face while you're talking to them.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, so when I went to the little dots at the top there, hold on. I can't see any, can't see you now. Hold on. Let me go to,
Um,
got it. And there, yay.
gallery view. Yay! Hey, everybody, wave at Jackie.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Wow, lots of kids here today. Holy moly.
That's that's my jam. Now I teach mostly kids and teens, but I also have been teaching an adult class. So I've invited some of both.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see me?
Yep. And
Perfect, okay.
beautiful piece of artwork.
Oh, some of you I know. Hello.
That's not at all surprising. Yeah, and it looks like we've got more people showing up, every couple of minutes.
Great.
Uh, the Do you want to start by just talking a little bit about your job as a casting director, sort of pre-COVID, what casting director life looks like, and then I've got a couple of questions to throw at you, but really, you can start wherever you want.
Well, as you know, some of you have been into audition for my job. I've been doing this will be my 27th year. So I've been doing this for 27 years. And I started as a casting director because of my daughter, who's an actor. And she started acting when she was 9, and she's now 38. And so I came into the industry because of her, because she decided she wanted to be an actor, and I knew absolutely nothing about acting. So I actually became an agent to find out, about the business part of it. And then I realized that wasn't really something I wanted to do. So I started in casting. And so my job basically as a casting director is to find talent, like a lot of you or all of you, I'm sure, to find talent for roles in MOWs, which are movies of the week or feature film or television series. And basically what happens, I'm hired by a producer or a network, then your agent will, if I pick you to come into audition, they'll send you your sides, as you know, then you come in and you do your audition. And then there's many, many, many parts to this. And so this is what's so good, especially for kids. Only one person can get the role, as you know, right? If you don't get the role, it doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means that maybe you just weren't right for that role. And so there's so many decision makers. And so once I decide, who is most appropriate for that role, I present that to a director or a producer. Then when they decide which person is the most appropriate for the role, they then have to send it to a network and a studio often. And so there are probably sometimes 27 to 30 people who decide who's going to get that role. And sometimes if you don't get the role, it's because we're matching a family and we want you to look like the mom or dad. Sometimes if you don't get that role, it's because we've decided to cut the role because we have too many characters. Sometimes if you don't get that role, it's because you're too tall or you look too old. And sometimes you can have the best audition and you're not 12. And sometimes we need that 12-year-old to get the hours on set. So for all of those reasons I just explained, you don't get the role. It's not because you're not good enough. It's not because you didn't do a good job. You did a great job, especially if I've seen a lot of you here more than once. It means that you did something right in the first place. So we want you to come back because we think you're wonderful. And so just knowing that is going to help you. I think for me, when I have kids come into the room, I just want to make sure that this is something you want to do, something that you love, something that really makes you happy. And you're not there because your mom or dad wants you to be there, or you're not there because you're getting pressure to be there, but you're there because you think it's really fun You're there because you think that this is something that's so exciting. Because if you come in a positive and really love this, the odds are that you're going to succeed. So you just have to tell yourself, do I really want to do this? And also note too that you never have to do something you don't want to do. If all of a sudden one day you're having a bad day, you're not feeling good, you come in, you don't feel like auditioning, it's not a failure. Everyone feels that way. Adults feel that way. You can just say, you know, I'm just not feeling like I want to do this today, and that's okay. So you need to always know it's okay. And ever second guess yourself. And the biggest thing I could say too, to start practicing, especially as kids, never apologize. There is no reason for you ever to say you're sorry. You haven't done anything wrong. So never apologize. If you miss your line, who cares? If you screw up your line, who cares? If you fumble things, who cares? That's part of life. That's what makes you an individual. So never say, oh, sorry, oh, sorry. Just keep going. Just remember to keep going. And that's going to help you a lot in auditions, because I know a lot of kids come in and they start off by saying, I'm really sorry, I don't know my lines so well. And we're there to help you. And if that's the case, and you make a mistake, we're going to do it 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, especially if you're kids, because we know that you have the right look, first of all, because that's why you're coming in. And also you have talent, that's why you're coming in. And even if you're brand new, we want to find new kids, and we're there to help you. So it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for questions, especially from your reader, or ask questions to me after you finish it, so that we can help you make sure that you get the best edition that you can possibly get. And one last thing, nobody can be you better than you. Each and every one of you are unique to yourself, and that's what makes you special. So what happens a lot of the time is that you practice it a certain way, and then mom or dad decides maybe you should do it a certain way. Or the thing is you practice so much. It's good to practice and it's good to know your lines, but you shouldn't know them so well and be so memorized that if all of a sudden we say, you know what, let's do it a different way, or let's change this line here and there, that you're not able to do it because you're so over rehearsed and so practiced. And know that sometimes those funny little things that happen in audition, if you say a word wrong, or if you drop your sides, or if something funny happens, those are sometimes the things that help you get the role. So just know when you come in there, however, when you get your sides and you read it, don't say it the way someone tells you to say it. Don't say it the way you think I want to hear it. Say it the way you'd say it. Say it the way you'd say it, and lend yourself to all of those additions, because again, each and every one of you are unique in your own way. And I don't particularly like acting, because to me, acting, as when they say you're being too actory, is what happens is if 10 people get the sides and 9 people come in and do it exactly the same way, there's nothing funny, there's nothing unique about it. But if you come in and you just decide, I'm going to do it just like me, then all of a sudden you're bringing something to that audition that no one else can, because no one else can be as good as you. Everybody, each and every one of you, have something special and unique about yourself, and you need to find out what that is and lend that to the audition.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jackie. To help the folks listening understand why it is so significant, there's something you said, that if you're seeing somebody, especially if you've seen them before and then you're seeing them again, to help them understand why that's significant, can you talk a little bit about that process from sort of when you send out the breakdown
Yeah.
to actually running the audition?
Yeah, so I send out the breakdown, and then the agents submit you, and just so you know, sometimes we get 2, 3, 400 submissions for one role. So we have to go through all of those submissions and say, hey, first of all, like I said before, the right height, the right age, do you look like this family? Do you look like young enough? Whatever it is. And then we bring you in. Here's the thing. If you get a call back, it means you've done everything right. Right? You did your job. You came in as an actor, you had a good audition. If you don't even get a call back, because sometimes we don't have callbacks, but we call you back again on the next show or for another role, it means that you've done something really great. Because what happens is, what you all need to understand is that when you come in, for instance, and you're auditioning for a role on a television series, you're not just auditioning for that episode, and you're not just auditioning for that role. You could be auditioning for 30 or 40 or 50 roles that are going to appear on that television series. And so often what happens is you come in and I say, you know what, I don't think they're right for this, but there's something really cool for them in the next episode. So you always come in and you do your best, and then we remember you and say, hey, oh my gosh, Audrey, remember her? She's so cool, she's so great. Let's remember her for this show that's coming up, because we don't just do one show at a time. Sometimes we're doing 17 shows at once. That's a lot of shows. So if you come in and you're auditioning, you remember that it's not just for that show, it's for so many other shows. So all you have to do is come in and do as best as you can be, and you're going to be remembered for a lot more than just that little role you're coming in for.
And that decision-making process, so let's say you get several hundred submissions, and you're going to see however many actors for a single audition. Can you talk a little bit about how you make those decisions? I think that.
Yeah, I mean, again, sometimes if it's a really big role, like it's a series of recurring role, we're obviously going to try it first to find the actors who have experience, obviously, in this, because it goes a long way from doing a couple of lines in a movie to, doing huge chunks of dialogue for series regular or series recurring. So I look at the resumes, number one. I also look to see if you've had any training. Because I think, sometimes it's not the best actor that gets the role. A lot of the time it's the best audition. And so to have some training to understand, how it works, like when you come in and to hit your mark and what a slate is and how to do it and how to prepare it and how to look, I look to see if you've had some sort of training, like with Michael or somebody else, so that I know that when you come in, you're going to feel comfortable, because the more comfortable you are and the more knowledge you have, the better your audition is going to be. And so I think that, and that also, just so you know, I can only see so many people. And so I also sometimes like to be proven wrong. When an actor or an acting teacher says, well, you should really see this person, and I'm going to say, well, I don't really know this person, and I don't know if they're right for that role, I will always say, if you really believe in this person, then you have this person self-tape. And I watch every self-tape. And as you start going into a new time, and during this after coronavirus, or during the next probably year, self-tapes are going to be really, really important. And so to have a good self-tape, to have someone like Michael help you facilitate that would be very, very good, because actors are going to be cast a lot by self-tapes, and it's also going to give an opportunity for a lot of you who haven't had an opportunity to get into casting directors' rooms to be able to audition for those roles and have an opportunity to land them and to book them.
I would love to talk a little bit more about what makes a good self-tape, because you've seen more of them than certainly any of us have, and so what stands
thousands
out for you exactly? So what makes one pop? What
well, first of all, I don't know if you all see, we all look at Michael, and behind Michael is a blue wall, and you want to have a neutral something behind you, wall behind you, so that, for instance, mine is not a good to self-tape, because what's going to happen, it pulls focus, you're going to be looking at my painting, you're not going to be looking at me. I just want to look at you. So if you have a place in your house that you have a neutral wall, also I found out something, and this is something we're going to be putting together. My casting team is going to be putting together a educational video on self-taping, on what you can do and how you can set things up in your own house. And the technology is going to change. I just found out the other day that you can go to IKEA and pull in, and you can take it, it hooks up anywhere, and pull a blind down that's in a muted gray that's perfect for you to do anywhere in your house if that's what you need to do, if you don't have the opportunity to go and do it elsewhere. You also then could, for instance, you want a good reader, because unfortunately, as you know, unless your mom and dad's an actor, they're not going to be the best reader. Sorry about that, but that's what's going to happen. And so with this technology, what you can do is you could call up Michael, or your mom could call up Michael, and he can just zoom in what he's doing with you right now, and he can be your reader. So, and he can also tell you where to go and what to look. And through technology, by doing that, you're going to create an audition that hopefully is going to look almost as good as when you came into my room, with a neutral background, with a good reader to know where to look, Also some lighting where, I don't know, your parents could bring a floor lamp, or just making sure that you look, we want to see your face. We want to see who you are. And this is going to be, what we'll do is that will be sent to us, and we'll upload that on our system called EcoCast. That will then, if it's good enough, which if you keep practicing and make it good, we will present you just like as if you were in the room. So it's not a waste of time anymore going forward to self-tape. It's actually auditioning for roles that you could actually land.
That was going to be my next question is you and your casting team you're talking about self tapes or Zoom auditions or some combination of them or something else we haven't even heard of yet?
We right now are looking at every opportunity, whether it's through Zoom, whether it's through breakdown services, whether it's through everything that we're going to try and put together just to get some sort of professional type self-tape, as professional as we can do, without being able to social distance and keep ourselves safe. And
Yeah.
so that's sort of what we're working on right now. The other thing is, just so you all know too, is part of this new process of casting, because casting is a big thing about getting back to work in the film industry, is we're going to try and eliminate paper as much as we can, because you can transfer the virus from paper. And so, you're going to be sent sides on, you have to read them from your iPad or or iPhone, whatever it is. Scripts are going to be sent on the iPad. And so when you come into the audition room, or when you're self-taping, you should really know your dialogue anyway. I'm going to tell you this right now. Some casting directors say it's okay to use your papers. I'm not so sure. If you want to take a look down or have your iPad there, great. But to me, I'd rather you get the gist of it and make a few mistakes on the lines that have your head buried in a piece of paper. So what's going to happen is that's going to change dramatically. Headshots, you're not going to be bringing in headshots and resumes once we get into, if we have a small group of actors. What's going to happen normally is that if I have a movie that has 26 actors in it, maybe more, 30, 35, every single one of those roles would come into my studio. Now it's probably only going to be the top 5, and everyone else will be cast from self-tapes, because we can't possibly bring that many actors in. It would take forever between self-distancing them and having the time in between. So those things are going to change, which to me is really exciting, because as weird as this all sounds, it's going to give all of you so many more opportunities to get roles because you didn't get the opportunity. Like, think about it. It's those that get in the room, that audition, that are being seen are the ones that are going to get the role. So now so many more of you are going to be able to be seen.
Interesting. So in a normal audition situation, you would see like what 6, 8, 10 people, and you're expecting you'll be able to see more tapes just because it will be more efficient.
Yeah, when we're dealing with kids, we see 20 to 30
Okay,
per role. On a self tape, I'd see 50 to 100.
great.
Especially when it comes to kids, because it's tough finding kids, right? And I think that the kids that I've cast on some of the movies lately are real kids. They want you to be real. That's the other thing, like not all done up with tons of makeup, or just be yourself. That's basically what we want. Talk like you talk like yourself. Be as natural as you can possibly be. That's what we're looking for. And so that we have to see a lot of kids, in order to do that. So I think that's what's exciting, about that. And again, when I went back to saying it's not always the best actor that gets the role, it's the best auditioner. And so knowing things like knowing to hit your mark and knowing your lines is really important. And one of the other reasons that knowing your lines is so important is because I do so many movies on TV, Hallmark movies, that when you come in and you have a director sitting there and you don't know your lines, what happens is they think, uh-oh, we only have 14 days to shoot this movie. And if they don't know their lines now, are they going to show up on set and not know their lines? And then they get worried. So it's really, really super important you know your lines. And you know what? Sometimes, because something happens and someone gets sick or we have to recast them or whatever it is, you don't have very much time. All of a sudden, mom or dad are picking you up after school and saying, oh gosh, you have to go to this casting session and you have to be there like right after school, and they hand you your sides. That's forgivable. We know you just got the sides. So we will work with you as many times as you need in the room. But if you've had a day before or a couple days before or the weekend, there's no excuse for you not to know your sides. And if you are sick or you can't do it, or something happened, then you know what? It's way better to have mom call your agent and say, you know what? They had a ton of homework, or they're not feeling good and they're not going to be able to make it. Because I'd rather see you again than you come in and not be prepared.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So let's open it up for questions.
Yeah.
And because there's so many people here, I'm going to get them to throw a hand up, either physically or virtually. It's those of you who haven't played with that function, it's in the participants section. That'll probably be easiest just because there are so many people. And exactly that little blue hand that you can see on Ethan's and on Jess's. And then Jackie, you tell me whose question you want to take, and I'll unmute them.
Okay. Well, how can you see all their questions?
I sure can.
Why don't you pick it, because you know what you need most? Because I can answer anything.
Okay, great. And just because we have so little time, I'm going to ask you to keep your question very efficient. And if you're taking a long time to tell the story and get to the question, I might cut you off, take another question, come right back to you. So if somebody's got like a real efficient question, then we can start there. Ethan, why don't we start with you? You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
Okay. We good?
Yes.
We're good.
Okay. So I have two quick questions. First, you were
We can do
mentioning
one.
that self-tapes. You were mentioning that self-tapes aren't as useless now. Were they useless before? Did you watch them?
We watch every single tape that came into our office. They were never useless. We've cast lots of people from self-tape,
Okay.
but the problem is 90% of them were terrible.
Oh, gotcha.
So if they're not a good self-tape, it's a waste of my time, it's a waste of your time, and we wouldn't be able to present it.
Right, gotcha. And the other question is, even if we have it memorized, would you prefer us to bring the script in the room, just as a safety net?
Well, your iPad now or your iPhone.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Just in case. So you know what? In the next take, you have a chance to take a look at it, and we'll do it again. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank
Ethan.
you.
Aiden.
I'm curious how the volumes of people you're bringing in for role are going to change before and after quarantine.
Well, we're going to see a lot more people after quarantine because so many of you we're going to be able to have to see on self-tapes. And so I'll tell you why we're able to see, if it makes more sense to you. In an audition, and I've been doing this for 27 years, I know in the first scene whether or not you're right for this. But I can't say, okay, thank you, bye-bye, because it'll hurt your feelings and it's rude and you need the practice. In a self-tape, I can tell in 2 minutes and I can move on to the next one. That's why we're able to see 10 times more self-tapes than we do in the room.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jess.
Hi.
Unmute yourself, Jess.
I was just wondering with self-tapes, I've heard a lot of people have different opinions on, like, it's strategic to put the better scene in the front, or put your slate at the end so it's not distracting because you guys only watch so much. Is that strategic or is that more distracting?
No, I want, for me, I want the slate in the front because when I make my notes, right away I know how tall you are. In a slate, I don't care who your agent is. I mean, I in a slate, all I want is your name and your height, and if you're a minor, so that, and you just basically say I'm under 18. If you're under 18, you can tell me your age. If you're over 18, you don't say your age. You just give me your height. And so that's basically what I need is your height. And or if there's a specific question I need from you, like on a self-tape, I'm going to say, do you have a visa? Can you work in the States? That was old. That's not going to happen for a while. Or can you do accents? Or can you skate? Can you play hockey? And then you say that on the slate. So already I think, okay, she can skate. She can do this. She's 5'6", perfect. Then always put your best take first. Always, always, always. Because if I see something, again, we have so many tapes to go through and I go, not right. I'm not going to watch a 10-minute or an 7-minute audition when I know in 3 minutes.
So if there's multiple scenes, you would put what you felt was your best scene first?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Lexi, you had a question. Let me just unmute you. There you go.
Hi. So I found that sometimes when you get a callback, you are given the exact same scene again. And I'm not sure whether you're supposed to do it the exact same way you did for the original audition, or try something new? What is your take on that?
That's a very good question. Here's the thing. If you get a call back, it's because you did everything right in the audition. So you don't change a thing. You don't change your hair. You don't change your wardrobe. You change nothing. You come in doing exactly the same way that they saw in your audition. Then they'll direct you in the room. And that is really important. If they want you to do anything differently, like different wardrobe, different hair, or new sides, they will tell you. If you don't get that information, you go in and do it exactly what you did.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And the thing to clock there, Lexi, is that you can use that extra time to be prepared to do it different ways. Because if they like you, likely they will ask you to do it, possibly in a surprising or unusual way.
Which is also, I just want to touch on right now too. When you get some sides and you come in and you do a really good job, and then all of a sudden a director or producer tells you to do it really kind of differently, like, it's not because you did it wrong. And sometimes the direction they're giving you is cuckoo. What they're trying to see is if you can take direction. So they may not even use that, but sometimes, especially with young adults and kids, they'll do it exactly the same way, even though they were given a direction to change it. And that's not necessarily a good thing, which brings me to one of the best tools an actor can have is to listen. You need to listen to your reader so that you're able to get the cues and react naturally. And you need to listen to the direction from the producer and director. Because if a producer and director says to me after you leave the room, gosh, I really like that kid, but they did it exactly the same way, it means you weren't listening and you didn't take the direction. Because on set, sometimes that direction will change several times. So it's that they're just trying to see, but it doesn't mean you did anything wrong.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
And we have time for one or two more questions if anybody's got one. Okay. The going once, going twice, and then Jackie, just before we go, why don't you talk about the work a little bit? Just in terms of when you see an actor, and let's say they've set up their self-tape so that it looks good. They're coming in, they're talking as themselves. Is there anything else that for you goes with work that is exciting or well prepared? The kind of stuff that really grabs you.
Yeah, like I think the big thing is that when you come into the room, you come in and you hit your mark, and it's always good to, when you come in, I would never allow handshaking, and sometimes parents would say, come in and, shake your hand, and that's because I have lupus, which is an autoimmune disease, and I can catch things really easily. So I wouldn't allow handshaking in my office, but now there will be no handshaking. But it's also nice just to say hello. So when you come into the auditioning room, and if there was a director, a producer, or myself sitting there, you just smile and say hello. And if they might say, hello, how are you today? Just be yourself. Don't come up with like, sometimes you come in and be too cutesy and make little jokes or dance around or not pay attention. It's also, regardless of how old you are, it's about coming in and being as professional as you can be. And at the end of it, say thank you and leave. Just say thanks and have fun. I think, the biggest thing is about having fun. That having fun creates a really positive effect on everybody, because you come in and you're having fun and you leave, and it's not about us wanting to like you. It doesn't matter. It's not about liking, and it's not about you pleasing us and thinking, what do we want, or being afraid of us. And so a couple of things is when you come in, instead of coming into the room and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so scared and I have so much fear, and that's a negative response. We're not that scary, and what you're doing isn't scary, it's fun. So instead coming in and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You're still going to have those feelings because you're human, and there they are, but they're coming from a positive place, not a negative place. And so you're coming in, you're having fun. This is something you want to do. You listen, you do your job. And that's basically it. It's about just really, truly, saying, hey, they might ask you about the character. You might say, hey, so this is one question. What do you think about this character? So you should think about that and say, oh, I really like this character and know why. Or part of the other audition is when they say, so do you like acting? A lot of kids will go, I don't know. Well, that's not a really good answer, because we want you to love it and we want you to be happy and we want you to be there because you want to be there. So, it's about thinking about just like what questions they're going to ask you. It's not always about, okay, action and do your lines. It's about, because we want to know about you. And I think that's the other thing. We want to know what you like. We want to know what you liked about the script. We want to know what you liked about the character. We want to know, sometimes a lot of the directors will say, what grade are you in? What school do you go to? What's your favorite subject? And so just thinking about that on the spot, what it does is allows us to see a little bit more of your personality, because you only have a chance to read one little part of that script. And there's so many other parts to that script. So we get to see a little bit of your personality, to see that if, you fit into that world of what we call it, that world, that series, that genre. So it's about, again, being you and the best you can be. And that gives you that's why when you come into auditions and you see the same kids all the time, you can't say to yourself, well, I'm not going to get it because they're here and they get it all the time. That's not how it works. It's not how it works at all. It's about coming in and realizing that you're there and you have as big a shot as anybody else there, regardless of their credits. And I have cast kids many times, some in major reoccurring roles, on their first audition. So it's possible. And you need to know that you have to think that, and you have to believe that, and you have to have fun, and you have to believe in yourself, and you have to like yourself. It's not about not liking your hair or not liking your clothes or not liking how you look. It's just about liking who you are. And if you like yourself, you know what? Everyone else is going to feel that energy, and they're going to want you in that movie or the next movie or the next movie after that. So you just have to remember that you are good enough. You don't have to be or look like anybody else. Just be you.
Thanks so much for making the time to join us today, Jackie. I really, really appreciate it.
I look forward to all your self-tapes.
Okay, I'm going to unmute everybody so that everybody can say thank you. There you go. You're all unmuted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Guys, thanks, Michael.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Bye.